The following episode of FOFOP is classified MA. It contains some coarse language, some nudity, drug references, a sex scene, time travel, terrible Batman impersonations, a Charlie Clausen, pronounced Clausen-shaped hole, and mild coarse language. FOFOP advises that the program is not suitable for persons under the age of 15, and minors must be accompanied by an adult guardian or priest. This is John Deek speaking.
Everyone relax. This is FOFOP. Ironically, I'm not relaxed.
Hello and welcome to FOFOP. I'm Wil Anderson and returning guest Charlie Clausen, the most frequent guest Charlie Clausen, guest Charlie Clausen number one, as he is known, although it's been a very long while since we've sat down to do one of these.
July?
So, is that right?
I
July.
think so. I just looked up the last time I texted you on that number, and it was July.
Okay, that's how long ago it was.
Yeah.
All right, so it's been a while. What's been going on, Dave Anthony?
Nothing.
Nothing at all? I hear you blowing up on the
God.
internet. We wanted to talk about that. Let's
did.
start with that. Because we won't get to it otherwise. What's going on with you and the internet?
Okay,
I always like a you and the internet story.
So we had a shooting. Did you know the guns are legal here in America?
I mean, today, have you had one today, you mean? Probably.
Oh, I'm sure we have.
probably.
I haven't looked at the news, but I'm
Yeah.
sure there's been a shooting today.
At least one today, I imagine. Yeah.
But a Planned Parenthood.
Yes.
So in their minds, an abortion clinic.
An abortion clinic.
In our minds, in a normal person's minds,
An
place
abortion
where
clinic.
all things women's health are taken care of, including pap smears and all sorts of things that women need done.
Come in, get a pap smear.
Are done at
Sell your baby's liver.
they save lives from cancer and things
Right.
like they detect what they
And
are
sell
a
baby
healthcare
food.
clinic.
Yeah.
But in
Take
their
home-
minds, it's
take
just
home a foot.
a baby place.
Yeah.
A place where the babies go to die.
Need a heart? Here's a heart. Here's a little baby heart for sale.
And so 2 months ago, those fake videos came out. Were you here for the fake videos?
No.
Okay, so one of the people running for Republican president, Carly Fiorina, who used to run HP, who ran HP into the ground, who took a company, a viable, exciting, old school company, and turned it into garbage. She's now running for president on that
Of America.
Right.
I can do that to the whole country.
I know I could ruin so many companies
Yeah.
so fast, and then I could be president.
Right.
So she really wants to be president, and it's not going to happen. But it's cute.
People who've heard my podcast with Gareth Reynolds will know that I once interviewed Carly Fiorino.
Oh, you did.
At this conference for an hour. I did an hour one-on-one with Carly.
Was she nice?
I mean, she was prim and proper. She was pretty,
Yeah. Yeah,
she
that's how
wasn't.
she seems.
She wasn't up for my comedy hijinks.
Right. No. Doesn't seem like she'd like comedy. No. Maybe the honeymooners. She might enjoy that.
Right. So yeah. So anyway, So tell me about her in the fake videos.
So she's speaking in the debate, and she says, I've seen these videos of babies being killed, viable children being aborted and then killed on the table,
Right.
and that kind of stuff.
Uh-huh.
They're Planned Parenthood videos. And then afterwards, of course, everyone's like, hey, where are those videos? We haven't heard of these.
Right.
And she's like, well, I've seen it.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, so where are they? I've seen them. It's like the answer.
Yeah.
It's like
She's on the dark web all the time.
yeah. So she's
Yeah.
down there in
She was
Tor.
like
She's getting into
She was like when I was buying MDMA on Silk Road. I saw those videos.
I got my MDMA.
Yep.
I put out a contract on a guy's life, and
Right.
then I saw these videos. So, of course, people track it down, and they go, right, this isn't real. It's not Planned Parenthood. It's clearly some woman who's a doctor went through and said, this is why none of this stuff can happen in America because it's insanely against regulations. They're using different instruments. It just broke down why it's not even American. It's probably some place that doesn't have regulations in another part of the world. So, and then also the baby clearly wasn't aborted. It was a miscarriage.
Right.
And you could tell that because of whatever you can see that has come out also and other things. So it's false. But the far right takes it as we've got to shut down Planned Parenthood. The Republican congressmen start trying to shut down Planned Parenthood. They start having they start having protests outside of all the Planned Parenthoods, which are always under protest anyway, but they peak, and outside they're yelling, "No more baby parts." That's their chance. No more baby parts. No more baby parts. So this weekend, a guy goes in and shoots up a Planned Parenthood clinic and kills a cop and two one guy in the parking lot and someone else.
Because he's pro-life.
Well, it's what Jesus would want.
Just gave 3 people very late-term abortions.
Right. Well, like he killed a pastor, which Jesus would have wanted.
Right, exactly.
Jesus
got him straight to heaven.
If there's a
fast track, gave him a fast track to the place he wanted to
exactly.
be.
He wants to be there. So
faster passer.
Jesus got him there.
Right.
And he killed an Iraq war vet, which is
okay. Well,
congrats on surviving the war, but guess what? Being in front of 7-Eleven and the Planned Parenthood is going to be worse.
I mean, you wouldn't want to go to Iraq and be killed by one of their religious fanatics.
Thank you.
When you can be killed by an American religious fanatic back home.
Hey, he's not a fanatic. He's misunderstood.
Oh, sorry. So
I go and I immediately type into Twitter because I'm making a couple of points here. My tweet was, another Christian terrorist is shooting up an abortion clinic. Moderate Christians, do something about your religious extremists.
Right. Why won't moderate Christians speak out against
this? But at this point, let me also say this. Nobody knows who the guy is, right? We don't know that he's a Christian. But we can guess because usually Buddhists or atheists don't shoot up Planned Parenthood. They might shoot up something else.
Right. In the same way as people speculated pretty much straight after Paris how that shit had gone down.
That was kind of the point I was making, was that whenever there's a shooting, everyone always goes, oh, Muslim terrorists, unless it's a Planned Parenthood thing. So I was making that point of like leaping to conclusions.
Sure.
And also the point of, why don't you reel in your Muslims, which is the most insane bullshit argument that anyone's ever fucking created around these people. Like,
well, it's like,
who the fuck, what, like some guy living in his house in Michigan who's Muslim is supposed to fucking reel in the crazies? He can't do it any more than I can.
Right.
Right? So
I mean, it's like blaming us all for Cosby. I mean, why didn't you comedians
reel in your Cosby?
Right. I mean, nobody called on me to speak out. When the Cosby thing came out?
Yeah.
People just assumed that I was anti-drugging and raping people. But I'd like to go on the record as a mainstream comedian.
I'm super against the drugging and raping of people.
Like, I also condemn.
And I just thought it'd be one of those tweets that would get like 20 retweets and a couple people would go, that's a funny... Look what you did. You took. It's not even funny. It's just a twist of making a point.
Yep. A juxtaposition, a comic juxtaposition.
Do you want to know how many retweets have gotten?
Yeah, I'd love to know. How many do you reckon an average is? If you just write like a comedy tweet, not an angry or a sportsy tweet, but you write something as like a joker point like that ordinarily. What would you say?
Between 50 and 100.
Sure, that seems like an amount.
Yeah,
that seems like the amount of people who like something that's like okay. What about this one then?
It has gotten 9,751 retweets and 9,822 favorites.
Hang on, give me those stats again.
9,751 retweets and 9,822 favorites.
Right. Well, there's more favorites than there are retweets.
There are, because some people didn't want to.
Some people are like, hey, I support what you're saying and I want you to know that.
but I don't want to get in there.
I also don't want to meet the people you're about to explain.
Because I've had tweets go big, but I've never had one go this big.
Right.
Certainly not.
I mean, this is big.
That's about, it's a tweet that can be completely misconstrued, number one, of I'm not making, like I'm trying to make an ironic point here with this tweet, which is don't do this to Muslims. But the other point I'm making is extremists are everywhere.
Absolutely.
Right?
That it's extremism that is the issue rather than the particular thing that they're extreme about.
Extremism. And I could sit here, if someone wanted to argue with me and have a debate about whether or not Muslims are more extremists, I could sit here and probably have a debate with you for a couple of hours as to why that's bullshit, that extremists are extremists.
Right. I mean, percentage-wise, if you look at what is there, 1.6 billion Muslims in the world, and there's 30,000 people in Daesh or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, percentage-wise, I mean,
it's nothing.
That shit kills 99.9% of germs.
If you want to go through the tweets of people who support this and find them, it's about the same number.
Right.
Because there's a lot of people tweeting how good this guy is.
Okay.
Shooting up a Planned Parenthood.
All right. Tweeting to you or tweeting in general?
Just tweeting in general.
Okay.
But so first of all, now America's just crazy. We've gone so far batshit crazy. When I was watching the debates, I was struck by. So I'm watching all the Republican debates, and the first ones are like on I think one's on NBC and one's on CNN. But then, one is on Fox. I'm trying to bring it all together.
But talk us through how the debates actually work. Because from an outsider, we have like a sense of this. But because I spent a lot of the time this happened in Australia, we only get that Australian perspective on what's going on in America, where everyone's like, geez,
what the fuck is happening?
Right.
Yeah, you get because that's all you really should get the Crib Notes, because it's crazy when you get into it. So they have no viable candidate. Usually
now, why is that though? Why do they have? Because at the moment, it seems to me like I get the fact that all the crazier people are winning.
Yeah.
But why is there no one that eventually everyone's kind of like, but we'll settle on this guy?
Well, that goes back to the Tea Party. So when they won all in 2010, they won all the state houses. So they won most of the Republicans won most of the state elections. Mm-hmm. That means they can carve up all of the voting districts. It's called gerrymandering, after a guy named Gerrymander who first thought of this in like the 1800s. And
really?
The idea is to carve it up so you can get the votes you want. So they basically went in and they made these crazy Rorschach.
I'd like to think there was a vote for what they call it, and he even rigged that. So, you know what, Jerry? You have nailed this. You have mandated this 100%. This is yours, gerrymandering.
So, some of the districts look insane. You know,
okay, but
they look like Chile when
Australia,
it should be a square.
In Australia, they used to have like gerrymandering, like in particular states, particular had and essentially it's outlawed. It's outlawed.
Yes, as it should be.
Because the people in charge shouldn't be able to come up with the...
No, it's batshit. We're now dealing with the results of it.
Okay, yeah.
So they go and do that in 2010. Then that's why our Congress is so full of Republicans right now. It's not because they're more popular; it's because of the gerrymandering, and they created these insane white districts where a guy will get voted in like 98% to 2. Like it's just batshit crazy. But what they didn't know when they were doing that is they were creating a monster, because you have to be diluted a little bit, or else it's fucking Hitler people.
Right.
It's people who have one mindset and they just talk to themselves and they don't hear anything else. And so that's the Tea Party. That's where the Tea Party came from. That's where the congressional candidates came from. And the Republicans sort of encouraged the Tea Party to be a thing, and they pushed it, and they made this sort of white, older crowd very riled up. And then they brought them in, and then they got a bunch of them elected to Congress. And what they assumed would happen is that they would walk in and flip open the doors and go, look at all the pots of gold. We can make money if we all play ball. And they opened up the doors and they said, look at all the money. And the right-wing Tea Party guys went, get that out of my fucking face. I don't want that. And they were like, what did we just do? So they created their own Frankenstein. So now they have this insane batshit, no compromise wing of the party, and it's eating the Republican Party, and the old school Republicans don't know what to do about it. They're just getting slaughtered. So now we're several years down the road, right? It's coming up in 2016. More and more moderate Republicans who are viable candidates have been going away. They're just getting beaten out by these crazy guys in the primaries. And they have now no one who is just a normal guy who can win. And on top of that, our Supreme Court said, hey, everybody, all money can be spent. Spend whatever you want. And so now that meant the parties couldn't control the purse strings. So now you have guys like Trump. Trump, as a result of the parties no longer having control over who they want to sort of push to be president. Otherwise, you'd have one of the smaller guys winning. So anyway, that's what we have. So we have 16 candidates on the Republican side, all of whom are just completely batshit insane.
Like 16 and all terrible.
All terrible. Like you can't. If any of these guys were running 20 years ago, they would just not even have just like a slight chance. Like they're just batshit insane. And they live in another world where the news, because when I watched that first debate on Fox, I was like, oh, they don't live in our world. Like they did a Benghazi commercial for Michael Bay made a Benghazi movie. I think it's Michael Bay, or it's what's the other guy? The guy who did the Transformers.
That's Michael Bay.
Well, who's the other one? Who's the guy who created Michael Bay? Who's the father of Bay?
I don't know who the original
Jerry
Bay is.
Bruckheimer.
Oh, Jerry Bruckheimer.
That's the father of Bay. Did you not know that? No. Yeah, one day at Fox, they went into the studio, and Michael Bruckenheimer was laying on the floor panting.
Jeremy Bruckenheimer.
Sorry, Jerry
Bruckenheimer.
Jerry Bruckenheimer was laying on the floor panting, and they said, "What do we do?" And he just gave me some hot water and towels, and slowly for the rest of the day, he birthed
a bay.
I came right out of his man vagina,
right,
and there was a little baby, and it was Michael Bay,
a baby, a tiny Michael Bay. I mean, that is not Planned Parenthood.
It is not Planned Parenthood at all. It is unplanned parenthood.
Where's your shooter that day?
Very.
I tell you what, the birth video looked amazing though. 5 choppers.
Didn't it?
5 choppers.
So many. I mean, the car crashes.
I didn't.
The whole deal. Well, they immediately threw him on the back of a truck and they got him on the highway.
I mean.
And the helicopters came in from Warner Brothers Studios, and they were trying to shoot at him.
Oh,
it was really something.
It was really good.
But that baby came out.
Yep.
That baby.
Okay, so they do the debate on Fox. Now, Fox is, obviously the Republican network. So
right.
What's going on? How are they dealing with the crazies?
We don't want.
They must know, right? That
I don't actually. Fox is to me is the big unknown because I'm not sure if.
They can't want Trump to win, Fox.
They are trying to talk a little bit of reason. No, they don't want Trump to win, and they are now trying to talk a little bit of reason, but they're so in over their heads. Like, they have to keep their audience.
Right.
And one of the reasons they keep their audience is to keep telling them what they want to hear.
Right.
But at the same time, that's just taking them down this crazy fucking wormhole of just insanity. And none of it's true. Like, you watch their network and you go, this is like being on another planet. Like, it used to be where you'd watch Fox and you just hear the opposing view of something you heard on the other network. Now you hear something and you go, this is another world. Like, you're not even in our world. The Benghazi thing has been going on for 3 years, right? We had four State Department people killed. And it's been going on for 4 years. They spent over almost $5 million on investigations. Congress spent $86,000 on an investigation of Katrina.
86,000.
86,000.
Hang on, what? On photocopying the report? Like,
you don't spend that much money on any of these things because it doesn't cost that much to have people come in and talk to them.
Right.
But they've somehow managed to spend $4.9 million to investigate something that is just like, yeah, we fucked up. Some guys got killed. Some terrorists, or not even terrorists, some fighters in another country where we had our people didn't like our people there and killed them. Like, that's what it comes down to.
Oh.
So anyway, so that kind of stuff's going on. Like, there was a 3 minute,
there's a movie about it.
There's a 3 minute trailer during the Fox movie, and I was like, I haven't heard of this movie, but also I'm watching something. I'm like, none of this seems real, and it's their Batman,
right?
It's their like Benghazi, like they are just fucking batshit crazy. So all that happened. So there's 16 candidates, and how they split up the candidates is if you have like over 3% in a poll, then you can be in the big debate. And if you have less than 3%, you have to go in the pre-debate and do the 2-hour pre-debate.
Oh, you have to do open mic?
Yeah.
To work your way up into the...
You're not even opening band. You're like the band they put on, and they're like, all right, you can play for free while the people are filing in.
Well, it's like, I mean, I guess it's like the reserves or the amateurs or like the, it's the B league. It's the feeder league.
Yeah, it's
right? I mean,
it is the fetal league.
Yeah.
They're the fetal Republicans. So the fetal guys come out and then they try to do big crazy stuff,
right? Because they want to get
themselves seen.
Oh, you know what it's like? It's like regional wrestling.
Oh, it's totally regional wrestling.
So they're basically you're trying to work it out on the scene and get your character right to get big enough to get into.
A guy smashes the fluorescent light bulb over his head and he scratches his face with tacks. And he's like, Benghazi!
All right, you're in the main debate next week. This is good. We love it.
So that's all going on.
That does explain, though, Trump. Like, if it's a wrestling thing, if he's taking, because he's like essentially playing the heel, but the popular heel. Like every week, like, he's doing that wrestler stuff where he goes out and he's like, what can I do this week? I'm going to make fun of a retarded person.
Yeah, well, Trump is the first.
And that is your classic heel behavior.
It totally is.
The more they boo him, the more they love him. You know what I mean?
Like, that's right. I don't like the handicapped.
Boo! We love Trump. Boo!
Fuck the Mexicans. Boo!
Signing contracts in the middle of the ring.
Oh, totally. And then smashing the guy in the head with a chair.
Smashing the guy dressed as an Arab and a Mexican. like building a wall in the ring between him.
I do believe that he did partake in a wrestling match in the 80s.
Donald Trump?
Yeah,
Would not
or the
surprise me.
90s. Yeah.
We did this thing on Gruen. We had a running joke. Every year we have what would so-and-so do? Like it's a kind of, like to look at the world's best kind of spinners and manipulators. So it started with Putin originally. What would Putin do? Every week we'd ask the question in response to something we were talking about, how Putin would solve that question.
Yeah.
And then we did like, what would Kim Jong-un do? And it's been various people over the years. So this year we're sitting down, for the start of the show, we're like, who's the biggest kind of spinner and manipulator in the world? What's got to be Trump, right? But we're like, well, how are we going to do a what would Trump do where we're not using stuff that's in the media all the time?
Yeah.
So what we did was we went back, because we're a show about advertising and marketing, and found all the Donald Trump ads and stuff he's been in over the years. And so every week we would just play some other ridiculous thing and just go, he's running for president.
Did you do his game?
Trump the Game, which I now own.
You do?
It was my gift at the rap party.
Wow.
Trump the Game.
That's amazing.
They don't make it anymore.
Yeah, I know.
It's like
gone.
Monopoly. Donald Trump was the only guy who looked at Monopoly and went, not capitalism. A monopoly is not quite capitalist enough for me. So he, Trump the board game, which I have not opened at this stage because I think if he becomes president, it might be worth something.
Wow,
they had to track it down on the internet.
He's never going to be president. But
okay, but at the same time, people have been saying the whole way through he's never going to be. Like,
I have not thought.
People said The Rock wasn't going to become the biggest actor in the world, Dave. But
I'd never said that.
Wrong.
I was completely on the rocks.
Right, and Donald Trump is the people's champion.
Well, here's the interesting thing about Trump. So, our journalists have always been able to destroy a candidate.
Right.
Like, Dean is the greatest example.
Howard Dean.
Howard Dean. Did you remember that scream?
He had a meltdown. I remember that.
Actually.
But he didn't. He screamed one thing and it got taken out of context.
No, and that's not even true. He didn't even scream.
Oh, what?
He went, woohoo.
Yeah.
And someone took the audio.
Hang on.
And separated the tracks.
Do you know this because of an internet video you saw?
No, I've seen
Carly Fiorino.
No, but I saw it. I saw a news story about it years later, and I was like, "Holy fuck!"
Hang on, that cannot be true.
It is true. Someone went through and isolated the track and jacked it up to make it look like he was a crazy screaming guy. When actually,
like one of those goats on the internet.
When actually,
he was the original internet goat.
He's totally. He actually did just something like, yeah. And they went, all right, let's hang on, destroyed him.
You can't do that. Can you?
Yeah, sure you can in America, without a doubt. And because here's the thing. The media in America have always wanted to choose the candidates. And there's one thing said, they just attack. But here's the thing. They've never had anyone like Trump or the right wing now because whatever he says, he's like, Mexicans are rapists. And they run and they type it up and they send it out and everyone goes, cool.
Right.
And because we're living now in a time when a reality star is running for president and winning. We are there. We are 20 years into the Housewives of Beverly Hills.
Mate, when Kanye said he was running for president at the Music Awards, I was like, that is no weirder.
No.
Like, I mean, everyone was like, oh, ridiculous. I was like,
no.
Donald Trump's running for president.
Yeah, why wouldn't he? The biggest fucking clown ever is running for president and winning with a bunch of people.
A guy who has been ridiculously on the record being a clown for all these years.
Yeah.
Has a history of bankruptcy.
Yeah.
His entire empire is built on bluster and bullying and, being politically incorrect.
Yeah.
He says inappropriate things that
the worst things any candidate has ever said.
Not dubbed out of his mouth.
No.
Literally the words that
made
come out of
fun
his
of a
mouth.
handicapped reporter
Last week. Like, not 50 years ago or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, normally it'd be like, oh yeah, like at university, like, he put his dick in the mouth of a whatever and like, you can't run for president.
Yeah.
He did it last week.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's completely insane.
Like the journalists, they'll get to the point where I'm writing this article and Donald Trump is whacking his dick on my face.
Yeah.
And you fuckers will put him up in the polls.
Now it's the tip. He's hitting me with the tip.
Like, I mean, it's
every reporter sighs in America.
But why is that? Why is he this Teflon person who, like, because all these things
we have reached
in the past,
time. It's all coming together. all these things have come together. One of them is that they created this really white base that could get these guys elected. And those guys have been saying crazy shit for years in Congress, but they're just talking to each other. So no one really pays them attention. And the press has stopped saying, like the other day, one of the guys came out and said something really batshit crazy. And instead of CNN writing a story saying this is why he's wrong, they just said, this is what he said. Yeah. So it's just, this is what he said. It's no going through and going, and this is wrong, and this is wrong, and this is wrong. So they've been doing that for a long time. And now that's catching up with them because now they have this guy who's just saying shit. But also, people are so our government is so fucked up and people are so fucking tired of it. And Trump is a guy who's just sticking his finger up and going, fuck you, government. And everyone's like, yes. So there is totally that part of it. Like there are just people who want a guy to go in there and say, go fuck yourselves. And I totally get that. 100%. Our government is fucked up and corrupt and needs to be torn down.
Right. But
but the wrong guy? Yes.
Right. That's like you're hearing your pilot mutter as he gets on the plane. Planes are shit. I'm like, you know what? Let's you're gonna have that opinion, but here's what I will say. Let someone else fly.
Yeah,
you know?
Totally. But there isn't another candidate within all those candidates who is like a legitimate crazy outsider populist guy who will say what the people want to hear.
Right.
Which he is doing. Let's face it, what we're learning is that those people, I'm not saying all Republicans, because I know a lot of Republicans who don't know what's happening right now, but there are plenty of Republicans who are just fucking dicks and just hate everything. And they hate the Mexicans and they hate the transgendered and they hate all the shit that he's talking about. And so they're like, yeah, just hate. It's very reality show. It's very, I love to see this guy tell people they're shitheads and then fire them. It's what it is. It's what they want from him. He's doing it. This is Running Man.
Right. I mean, it just, sometimes you do look around and go, if I was watching a movie, like, you know, say The Purge, for example,
it's so The Purge.
It's so The Purge.
I always write that about him on Twitter. It's like, we're like 2 days away from him saying, all right, get shotguns. It's 5:00.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like those Purge movies are going to date so badly.
Look at how fake this Purge is. It's like, so, I mean, guys in trucks. The Purge I know is just people would just go down the street and murder everything that moved in giant packs. That's the Purge I know.
I mean, it's crazy.
Okay, so all that's happening, and so now the press has no ability to destroy anyone. The parties don't have any ability to pull anybody back. It's totally out of control. It's like a system that's out of control. People want to destroy the system. The system has been telling, basically, the American government has been telling the people to go fuck themselves for so long now that this is inevitable. Now, on the other side, you have Bernie Sanders, who is exactly what you want. He is reasonable. He's the most liked person in Congress. He is very smart. He's very, very populist, and he's perfectly reasonable man. Which is funny because the Democrats, with that guy could, I think that guy, if he was made the candidate, he would annihilate Trump and everybody else. But the Democrats are going to pick Hillary, who represents everything that we're tired of. So good luck. I don't know what's going to happen there.
Right.
But
Hillary's John Cena and Bernie Sanders is CM Punk.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what I want.
Like, we actually want Punk, but he's frustrated with the system. You know, he understands. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So all that shit's coming together. And then in the middle of all that, you have ISIS, right? Which is created by them, created by the Republicans.
Sure.
I did a whole dollop about it. It breaks down how they fucking created these assholes. Mm-hmm. And then they shoot up Paris. So it's ape shit, you know, which is the you can't even get into how complicated the French situation is, with years of keeping them, letting them live in the country, not be citizens, just on the edge of the society, growing more and more angry. Like, it's so fucking complicated that you can't look at that and go, fucking Muslim. It's just so deeply rooted and fucked up. Like,
I mean, well, of course, all these. I mean, absolutely. Like radicalized people being disenfranchised. It's a breeding ground.
yeah.
Regardless of the endless debate you could have on a variety of issues around this topic, the one thing that you can't. It's like it's perfect conditions.
Yeah.
You get you bomb a country for 14 years. You kill civilians in that country.
Yeah.
That country doesn't have access to outside news feeds or media to get any perspective on why you're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
What they see is people who were innocent civilians being killed by people in the name of something, going to find weapons that weren't there that they made up in the first place.
Yeah.
To fix Iraq, and now they're fixing here with bombs or whatever. And again, this is not me saying in any way defending fucking ISIS, because the whole point is like you lose any credibility in an argument when you kill civilians.
Right.
Both sides.
Completely.
And that's the whole point of the other thing is America, Australia, the coalition of the willing have all been killing civilians in the name of this war as well.
Forever.
And if you're in a place where you're seeing civilians be killed and you are a disenfranchised person, and then you move to somewhere that is also where you're disenfranchised and you're constantly in your own groups and you're treated as a second-class citizen, it doesn't give permission for people to go there. But if you want to make a terrorist,
that's how you do it.
That's how you do it.
That's exactly how you do it.
If you want to, if someone say, "Hey, I really need to make some terrorists," how can I do that? I'm like,
I got the blue. You want to see the? I got it right here.
Michael Bay made a movie about it. You can, seriously, it's instant terrorist. It's
So I've been watching all this fucking Bill Maher and all these stupid assholes say Muslims they're all trying to kill us, and you're just like, I mean, I know some. I know they don't want to kill me. Just from my own personal experience, I've met a few perfectly reasonable,
and heaps of people want to kill you.
Tons of people want to kill me.
You're unlikable to a lot of people.
There's so many atheists who want to kill me.
No, absolutely, and like, I mean, this is a topic that's come up.
Of course, it is in Australia. It's the same thing,
right? Absolutely, and we're getting the same, stupid messages about like, we have the same right wing commentators and whatever coming out and calling on all Muslims to speak out against blah 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 and all this sort of stuff. So. I mean, Don't get me wrong. Like, I think that religion gives extremists and religion across the board.
Oh, it's a home.
I mean, if you give people a reason to think, hey, my life is shitty here, but if I do this thing, I go to some sort of paradise.
Yeah.
And it gives them, of course. Like, I mean, they say
if you set up a door for after you're dead where there's great things happening, what do you fucking think's going to happen?
Right. It doesn't mean that but it can be used in that way. And they say that a lot of ISIS people, this is one of the more interesting things. Because, again, with all these things, mostly they're disenfranchised young men. That's basically what it is. Yeah. Everywhere
disenfranchised and angry at women.
Yeah. And so you get these young men, a lot of them are ex-gang members.
Yes.
And so what you do is they recruit these people who are already violent, who are already looking for a community that is away from the mainstream.
Yeah.
And they offer them an opportunity to have a fucking, etch-a-sketch, wipe your fucking slate clean and go to this place where, you can be a martyr. I mean, that's, again...
They also pay them. They give them jobs, which they can't get.
In a place where they're second-class citizens.
Right. I mean, some of them are just taking it as a fucking, like a paper route. Oh, it's a job.
You're giving someone an opportunity and a reason, and religion also gives it that extra factor of then you can believe in this thing. And religions of all kinds over the years have been used to justify that sort of shit. So, because my thing's always like, again, I just draw your line at what you believe when you hurt someone else or you hurt an innocent person. Right. You can believe whatever you fucking want about your religion, but you can't hurt somebody else.
No, you don't get to hurt other people, and you don't get to put your fucking bullshit rules on me because I'm not part of your fucking religion.
But you can have your own. You can live your own way.
Yeah, knock yourself out. Else. Have a good time over there. Right. That's great,
regardless of religion.
Now I've heard you talk about religion in your act. I've never. You won't go find me talking about religion anywhere. I've just completely stayed away from it.
Sure.
But watching all of these fucking idiots say Muslims control your other Muslims, and it's just been building and building and building. And watching Bill Maher is the biggest fucking clueless asshole in America about it, as far as I'm concerned, because he does so much damage. Because he's supposed to be a liberal, which he's not, but he just keeps saying and bringing on people to explain to us why they're a murderous religion. And I look at all religions have been used to murder. That includes Buddhists and Hindu. They all have fucking gotten on their horses and gone and slaughtered people. That's Dave, just how it works.
It's good to finally hear a moderate comedian speak out against the extremism and damaging messages of Bill Maher on behalf of comedians. So that is very positive. The Muslims could take a lead from you, Dave Anthony.
So I watched this and I was like, Jesus Christ, how long do we have to put up with this shit? And it's building and it's building. And so then I am like the Christians have killed so many fucking people since the beginning of Christianity that it's insane. I mean, the Crusades, they just have. That's just what they do. They kill.
Sure.
And I know plenty of great Christians. I'm not condemning all Christianity. I know some that live their lives and they're very good people and they use it for the right things. But unfortunately, when you create something like that, you also invited monsters. That's just how it works.
Yep.
So I made that tweet and it went to 10,000. And for the day after, it was fucking insane. Just barrage after barrage. And then I started, and I was just getting all these people, how do you know he was a Christian? And I was just like, well, he's raised Baptist. He has a cross on the front of his house and he shot up a Planned Parenthood. Mm-hmm. And he yelled, no more baby parts, which is their chant, their current chant. And then I started to notice something really weird. I started to notice people calling him female.
Hang on,
so people responding on Twitter started saying he's a female.
Okay, now I'm really... This is taken a crying game-esque twist that I was not expecting.
And I've also talked about this, but my next one-man show, which I do not this year, next year, it's going to be about guns and my personal relationship with guns and how I view it.
In Australia, it would be called Guns. I've got some issues. In America, it would be called Why Guns Are Great. We all agree.
That's right.
Yay, guns.
Everything's good. Yay, guns. It's going to be called Yay, Guns.
Yay, guns.
And down in Australia, it's going to be called Yay, Guns.
Yeah, nay, guns. That's the Australian version. Nay, guns.
So I am on one hand watching these idiots and shutting some down, but other ones I want to talk to. Other ones I'm purposefully
looking for material.
Some I'm looking for material. Some I'm purposely badgering because I see that they're crazy, and so I'm just kind of dialoguing with all these different people. And then it goes from him being female to him being transgendered.
Oh,
so now they're telling me.
Here we go. Nice.
So now they're telling me, and have you seen a picture of the shooter?
No.
A gray-haired guy. With a big crazy beard and giant crazy hair that sticks up.
Oh, yeah.
What?
Oh, yeah.
I thought you said Liam.
Liam? Yeah, Liam. Liam, the Liam. We call that look the Liam in Australia. You know how you guys had the Rachel from Friends? That was called the Rachel. We had the Liam. It was named after a Liam Neeson movie that he did in Australia. Tracking down he tried to track down the dingo. Oh, okay. So he just looks like... if Santa went out with Nick Nolte for a night.
Yeah, totally. That's exactly what he looks like.
That would be the mugshot. If they found a guy who played Santa and Nick Nolte in a car together and they had their mugshot side by side, that's what it would look like. Okay.
That's exactly what it would look like.
So hang on, why is this guy transgender?
Well, that's obviously when I make that tweet and then I'm getting responses, how do you know he's Christian? And then I say, well, he has a cross on his house. He was raised Baptist. He shot up a Planned Parenthood and he's saying this phrase.
Right.
And then I get back,
but enough of this
bullshit.
Okay.
Bullshit. He's a transgendered female.
Okay, so it's a female dressed as a man.
It's a female dressed as a man. And I'm like,
dressed as a man. Transgender is transitioned into a man.
Right.
Okay.
And I'm like, so what in the fuck is happening? And then they're saying he had...
And now this is probably a bad taste joke, but I can't go past it. Santa's lost his sack. So... I mean no offense. I just feel like that's a good joke. So
now I'm at the point where I'm just bewildered. Like I have no idea what's happening.
Sure.
So I start trying to research it and find it. And then someone sends me a screen capture. And it's of a voter registration form.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you know anything about America, you know that people who isolate and live in rural places have started to really hate the government to the point that they're killing cops and killing census takers. They've killed census takers because a man comes and knocks on your door and says, hey, we want to know how many people live here. Well, you fucking kill him, right?
Well, the guy running for president hates government.
Yes.
So why wouldn't ordinary people hate government?
That is correct. If your elected officials are telling you that those people are bad and they come to your door, then they're bad.
Right.
Right? So this guy wrote on his voter registration that he's female. Probably because, and I'm just hazarding a guess, he's fucking nuts.
Right.
And he's probably anti-government across the board, and he doesn't want him to know who he is or what he's doing. So they took that registration form, and they wait. This is how it happens with a lot of transgender people. It starts with the voting form.
I mean, I guess that's when you think about it. I'm polling you, you know?
Hold on now. I don't know if
no one's really asked me what sex I was until I filled in this form.
It's been a pretty long time.
I mean, it's been a while.
It's been a long time.
You know what? It doesn't come up day to day.
It doesn't.
Nobody says male or female. And now that there's this form with M/F.
And this is an official government form. So do I want to go into a voting booth with people thinking that I'm a man when I feel like a woman?
I guess that could be the start of the journey. Okay, Here's a question I have that is even not about this, but it is kind of about this. Mm-hmm. Who, when someone shoots up a Planned Parenthood, is suddenly Googling their voter registration forms? What do you mean? Like, where is that? How has that even been introduced into this debate so quickly?
Well, it's the first thing we do.
Right.
Well, I can tell you exactly how it happened. They checked to see if he was a Democrat or Republican because they wanted to.
Okay. Blame one
and
side
I believe it did say Democrat on there. Like he just went the opposite of who he was, which is what people who are against the government.
So he said he was a female Democrat.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they were like, aha!
Right.
We've got him. And transgender is a big thing right now because some places want to allow transgender people to use the bathroom of their choice, and the right wing just can't believe what's happening.
I guess he got it the right way, though, because I guess if you're a female, you'd probably want to be a Democrat. They're probably looking after the females a bit more. But once you transition to being a man,
you want to be a Republican
because they're looking after the guys. So story checks out so far, I guess.
Story totally checks out.
Yeah, no, I agree. And like transgender, even us having this conversation and trying to laugh about this thing, you feel like it's one of those things where like these days, because of where the debate's at and whatever, you don't want to like say something unintentionally disrespectful even. But what's happening, it has become a cause for a certain side of politics and is now...
It's a big thing right now. And coincidentally, and you're not going to believe this, but more transgendered people have been killed this year than any other year in the history of the United States of America.
Is that right?
Isn't that strange? How that happens when our politicians start talking about how bad they are and that they should stay in their place, that they suddenly start getting killed? Isn't that weird?
The thing that came after Paris, because it happened in Australia a bit, where some people who weren't... a lot of Muslim women are being yelled at in the street.
That's happening here.
And but they see that thing again. And this is not. You have to look up whatever the fucking fact of this is. But in America after 9/11, did you know that they killed like Sikhs and like
anybody brown with a beard?
Right.
The fact that they were killing Sikhs because they see the fucking turban on their head or whatever. I don't know what it's called. But it looks to them like a turban, right? It looks like an Arab turban to them. Because they live in cartoon 1940s.
Right.
And they start shooting guys who are Sikhs.
I mean, it's...
Yeah.
I mean,
we are a nation of fucking idiots.
I mean, but that's crazy.
Yeah, but we are... That's one thing you learn when you do this and you have a tweet that gets 10,000 retweets. You really get confronted with how fucking stupid we are. And not... stupid because we didn't get taught in school, willfully stupid.
Right.
We're choosing to be ignorant. Because I had people, because I would get...
Good title for my first American special then. Willfully stupid.
I would get very nice Christians who I would talk to. There's a pastor in Pennsylvania. There's a woman from here and there. And I would discuss with them, and I would have interesting conversations in which they would say, well, he's not a Christian. And I would say, why? And they would say, because Christians don't do that. And I would say, well, Christians do this, and here's the historical documents to prove it. And then they would say, well, that's not my definition of a Christian. I don't believe he's a Christian. I go, that doesn't mean he's not a Christian.
Right.
So you get into that kind of circular bullshit, which is totally fine. Like, I respect that's your opinion. You can actually say he's not a Christian, but he's a Christian because he calls himself a Christian.
Right. But in the same way as like one of the... I was going to say audience, one of the supporters of my football club last year racially vilified a player from another club. That guy barracked for my club. You know, like he was one of our fans.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think he represents in the club, you know, straight away we're like, you know, this person doesn't represent us. Here's what we're doing to address that, blah, blah, blah. And I'm glad that I support a club that did that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you're like, but he was still, I can't say that he wasn't one of our supporters. He was wearing our jumper. He like barracked for our team and he was racist to a player on the field.
People fucking jump into your group. That's just part of the thing you have to deal with. Look, we had a comedian, Vince Champ, who was going around raping people for years. He would go to schools and rape girls in colleges. He was a comedian. He was one of our fucking tribe. And comedians are a weird group who go around the country doing shit. Like that is an open invitation for a guy who's got bad intentions to jump into that club. You know what I mean?
He did like it was a terrible, terrible thing that he did, and B, ripping off Cosby's material, like at all those venues. Again, that's a terrorist. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry.
Horrible joke. So I've never gone into the religion thing because I just think like, yeah, I get it. It's the magical man in the sky. Go live your fucking life.
Right.
But now we're getting to a point where there are so many shootings that are being justified because people apparently think Jesus would have been packing.
Right.
There's so many Americans who are hardcore Christians who are walking around with AK-47s on their back that it's time. You can't just say anti-gun. It's all wrapped up in one shit and you can't just separate it. It's you are exactly what they are. If there were no laws in America, if it was like Syria, they would be killing us.
Yeah. But that's because, Dave, and this is the problem, you haven't read the whole Bible. You've just read the Old Testament and the New Testament. But what you haven't read is the
chapter 3.
Michael Bay, the Babel. It was called the Babel, and Jesus did heaps more shooting.
Were there robots?
Yeah, Jesus was back, and this time it was personal.
That was Jesus.
And then he came out of the cave with a bunch of Uzis. And he got shit done.
Jesus is back and he's tired of socialism.
When he said,
Jesus, what happened?
You can have my gun when you get it out of my
cold dead
recently
Jesus
old undead hands.
My second time around dead hands.
Back from the dead hands. You can have my gun when you get it out of my back from the dead hands.
Now, you have been outspoken about religion. Do you think you have, I wanted to ask you this for a while, I don't know if I ever have, do you think you have a lot of Christian fans who just ignore that part of what you say?
Well, I'll say a couple of things about that. I think that my general philosophy about talking about religion and generally is the way that I do talk about it is within the context of what the fuck would I know?
Yeah.
Like I literally don't know. I always talk about what I believe in. And then I talk about like problems, essentially like, my rule has always been very simply right to swing your fist stops at another person's face. Believe whatever fucking ridiculous thing you want to believe. Mm-hmm. And who am I to, tell you that your ridiculous thing that you believe is any different to my ridiculous thing that I believe. We all as human beings, we don't know what the purpose of this earth or life or anything is.
Yeah.
Everything that we do every day is guesswork. Like how we're meant to be filling our lives, what the purpose of those lives are. I personally, don't think that our brains are big enough to comprehend if there is some sort of explanation to that or if we are just randomly what happened in the corner of the universe. That blows my mind even more. I mean, the idea, and maybe this is something I was thinking maybe this is something I might even try to explore in the new show, is the fact that every year I go to that, on my birthday, if I'm here in LA, I go to the observatory and I watch that History of the Universe show that they do, and I fucking love it. But there's this moment in it where they show where we are. They project on the roof, where we are in the universe, and they show how little we are and that we're not the center of it in any way. We are this tiny pocket in this tiny fucking corner of the universe. And they explain the nature of life and all these sort of things. And there's only two conclusions I think you could ever walk away from that knowledge, which is like one of them is, well, if this is what we are, then there must be something more to it because why would it be this? Or to me, which is what I probably believe, is that that we are just an accident in the corner of the universe, and for whatever reason it is, it's this. Or that our brains at least aren't evolved. We're not at the point in our evolution as a species. Okay, we can walk and talk and we can do this sort of stuff, but there's a point well beyond where we are right now that we may finally comprehend if there is some sort of nature or reason or whatever it was or pattern or need for us to be, right?
Yeah.
But I don't think we will ever know that in our lives.
No.
But if that is true, like if I honestly believe that to be true, and I do, I think honestly believe that to be true, then why the fuck is it this? Like, what is this? Like, what is the purpose in just a purely accidentally evolutionary sense of you and I sitting at this fucking table with these microphones making this, or me drinking this, or me, like, what the fuck? Why would this be necessary to anything?
I think there's no difference between us and a guy with 6 fingers. One time, a long, long time ago, something was born and it was smarter than the other things. And there was a little family of them. And they went and started doing things, and they could capitalize and they could take advantage because they were smarter. And from that, it became what we are. It's just a mistake. It's just a natural mutation. And it happened to be that we are smart. It could have very well been that a giant idiot killed the smart ones, and that was the end of it.
Yeah.
And then we're still monkeys running around. We just got lucky. So I think we're just...
So you think that this is all purely evolutionary? Like, the fact that, like,
I do.
Yeah. So, and that society is set up, in the way that, like, there are people who are necessary to be workers. There are people who are necessary to be leaders. There are people for a society to keep going. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, that may absolutely be true.
But in the, like
but
you
it's
said,
weird that,
in the timeline, we're a blip.
Yeah.
And I think we will be a blip. I think that we will end ourselves.
Oh yeah, well it's that famous Carlin thing. The planet's fine. That was his bit, right? I remember when I first saw him do that bit about the planet's fine, we're fucked.
Yeah.
Like the planet.
No, the planet's great.
The planet will still be here.
As a matter of fact, the planet has something on it right now that it needs to get rid of.
Yeah, we're a parasite.
Totally.
We are destroying the planet.
We are completely.
And you know what?
The definition of a parasite.
Have you seen Jurassic Park? The planet has shaken off shit heaps better than us. Heaps bigger and scarier and more impressive, and the planet just whatever.
Yeah. So I don't get into the...
Okay, so this is what I was going to say to answer that really quickly is, so I think that, like, when I do my religious stuff, then people, I think generally, and I've had Christian feedback from Christians and stuff saying that they find my perspective in the show not offensive, and and I would say that most of the people who come to my show are people who already believe in the same way as those people you talk to who are like, well, they're not real Christians. I bet that these people who come and see my shows would think, the people we're talking about are not real Christians. The things that I'm talking about appeal to them a bit.
If you were a real Christian, if you really believed in Christianity, and you saw your show, you would go, "Oh, that's too bad. He doesn't get it."
Right.
That would be if you were a real and really deeply down a Christian and believed it. That would be your response. "Oh, that's too bad," because it's the ones who get offended and want to kill you. Well, they're having doubts,
right?
And they want to kill you because you're the voice.
If you're strong enough in your own belief, why would it matter what anybody else
thinks? It shouldn't matter
thinks?
at all.
So. Yeah, that should not be able to hurt you if you believe what you believe. I just did a podcast recently, my philosophy one, with a guy called Jaron McKenna, who's a chaplain and a lover of Jesus, and we spoke for 2 hours, and it was brilliant. And to talk to him, and I respect his perspective on religion and the role that because he follows Jesus, like that's his big thing.
Right?
He'd be as critical of this,
Of course, how could you not be if he truly followed the word of Jesus and how Jesus lived his life? How could you not look at what's happening right now and go, "This is fucking crazy"?
I mean, in Australia, Tony Abbott literally said Jesus knew there was a place for everybody, and not everybody's place was in Australia. Like, well, no, that's actually no. He was a refugee. Remember that bit of the Bible about them? You've been reading the Bible. Great guys.
I wish I had the money to do a short film and I could get Ted Nugent in it, because I want to do a film of Jesus coming back, and the first thing he does is take a helicopter ride with Ted Nugent and watch him shoot pigs out of his helicopter.
Right.
Just to watch his face. Just on the face of Jesus.
Just a little
watching a guy
close up on Jesus. We'll get one camera locked on Jesus's face.
Just his face as he was like, oh, fuck, this went so wrong.
Oh, you know what you need to do? This would be great. If Jesus does come back, it's just a series of those internet reaction videos. Like, so you get Jesus first, right? Like in a locked room. And you just show him a series of things that have been done in his name, and you just see his reaction.
1 Jesus, 2 cups. Because the amount of shit that's been done in his name, just in America alone, is mind-boggling. And when you make a tweet like I did, you get so confronted with those people who are fucking terrifying, who just say you should fucking die, you liberal bitch, just the craziest. And all I would write back is just very Christian of you. And then they would just fucking lose their shit even more. But it's true. You're nothing like... I'm more like Jesus than you are.
Firstly, I've just started doing something.
No,
I think
I'm more like Jesus than you. No, I'm kidding.
So I've just started doing this thing, and I think I'm going to keep doing it because I'm quite enjoying it. Which is when somebody who is only an egg profile on Twitter, you know, who've still got the Twitter egg.
Those are dangerous people.
And they send me, you know,
a nasty one.
Yeah, some nasty ones. And like,
because you have opinions.
Yeah.
And if you have opinions, that's when you get attacked. And I have opinions, so I get attacked all the time.
And, you know, and there's a certain, there's an Australian journalist called Clementine Ford who's a feminist writer and provocative, but I think of a person needed in this time who's intentionally provocative to make, you know, a lot of points.
Right.
And she wrote something the other day, and like she then just published all the, like,
what people said back to her?
What people said back to her. And it was some of the most horrible things I've ever seen in my life. So I never get rape threats or death threats in the way that, like, women get on the internet. Right. So firstly that.
I will say this. The worst people who responded to me, by far, not even comparable, Christian gamers.
Oh, yeah.
Someone who had Christian and gamer in their bio were fucking monsters.
Well, because that's, you know what the shooting at the Planned Parenthood was all about? Ethics in games journalism.
What if Jesus came back and he was like, look, all this was about, where I was going the whole time,
was
ethics in game journalism.
They stumbled upon it, but...
And people always say, and I tweeted something about that, and people were like, you know what, gamers aren't that bad. I'm like, I'm sorry, you're acting like I'm not a gamer, like I haven't put on headphones and play video games. I have never heard more vile, heinous things said than in a fucking video game lobby. It's crazy. They are monsters.
I mean, finally, a moderate gamer speaking out. Take note, Muslims. So... eggs. Yeah. So when you get the egg, responding in the old days, I used to, I would just like write back whatever horrible thing they'd written to me. I just like, you know, you can change that profile picture from an egg, and like I would just I would just like, and they would like write something else back. I'm like, no, but seriously, like if you want me to run you through it, But that they didn't seem to really. But so now, I did this first time the other day, but I've done it twice since, and I feel like it's going to keep going. Is now I tweet them back an egg recipe. Like no explanation.
Did they even get it?
No. That's my favorite thing about it. Is like when anyone who's an egg, I just tweet back an egg recipe, and then that's it. Then I put them on mute, so I don't even see what happens after that.
That's great because it's so nonsensical. The thing I've been doing is every once in a while I just send back just out of nowhere, someone send me a mean tweet, and I'll just send back a tweet that says, "Hey, have you ever taken off your shirts and rubbed bellies with another guy?" And then they just explode, and I'm like, okay, it's all good.
I want to find out more about this, but I need to go to the bathroom, so I'm going to pause. So what else did you learn from these people who responded to you?
I mean, I guess because I stay out of the religion arguments, I just completely sort of avoid it. Because when I was starting out in comedy, there were a lot of people doing that kind of stuff, but we were also friends with a Christian comedian who was really fucking funny. Like he did really great jokes. And I talked to him about it once, and he was very sort of unassuming and very nice guy. And he just kind of kept to himself. And I was just like, I just don't want to piss people off like that. Because while there are assholes, there are just a lot of really nice people that are Christians.
Right.
And so I was like, it's so easy for a lot of comedians. It's really fucking easy.
Well, I mean,
simple.
it's and don't get me wrong. I'm sure, like I'm sure, and when I say I'm sure, I'm positive because I know that this is the case. Where there was certainly an element of me, when I say 25 or whatever, that was very much of that, like if you believe in your religion, then you're a fucking idiot, right? Like,
a lot of that.
But hopefully you grow out of that, and you have a more nuanced perspective. And sometimes when I see people these days do a bit of like, going, "Hey, God isn't real," you're like, "Oh yeah, no, I got that when I was 12." And I got a bit angry about it in my early 20s, but
we're being. I'm agnostic. Like God could be real. I don't fucking know shit. At the end of the day, I mean, that's not what I believe.
Right. Well,
that's not what I think.
Here's
but
what
at the end of the day, a God could show up and I could be like, fuck, I blew that on.
Well, I used to have that bit in my act where I would literally have that joke of like, I don't know. How the fuck would I know? I used to have a joke. It was like, I didn't understand the end of Donnie Darko. How am I meant to know whether there's a fucking God or not? I mean, if God rocks up one day and he's like, "Hi, I'm God," I'll be like, "Okay, my bad, high five." What are the rules? Hang on, it was all about ethics and games journalism?
Oh my God. What?
I mean,
seriously?
But I mean, absolutely. Like the possibility that there is some sort of God or some sort of like fucking Matrix or some sort of whatever. Like, I watched The Matrix the other night and yes, I was stoned, but I was watching The Matrix going, yeah, this makes about as much sense as any other fucking theory, but we don't know that. And here's what I do know, that there's a bunch of people in this world who all essentially are looking for some sort of explanation or purpose to, the world and how it works, and a lot of them believe in some sort of creator or God. And many of the stories have similar sort of like myths and, whatever crossover in the middle of them. There's a need in human beings at this point in our evolution for people still to believe in gods, as part of our world. I have no problem with that.
It's a story. Idea, we love stories. It's a story.
But it's this idea that rather than looking for like a higher purpose or an explanation of life so that we can get together, that there's a set of rules that were laid down. It's like the Constitution. Like, the idea that like something that people came up with, 250 years ago is still a relevant document to what happens today. They update the fucking iTunes agreement every 6 fucking months.
Totally. But not that one.
No,
you can't fuck with that one.
Because some people who shit in the streets. I mean, why did people people got mad at Back to the Future for not getting everything about the future right. Do you see how mad people were about that? It's a fucking movie. It's a comedy movie. And people were so angry that they didn't nail everything about the future. Yet we're expecting that fucking, some dickheads 2,000 years ago who wrote down some stories.
Right. Who were like, man, we got to get this thing together fast because there's some shit coming down the pike.
But also the Bible's like one of those oral histories they do of like Saturday Night Live, where it's not a documentary. They weren't like, this is people's recollections.
Right.
Like,
it happened way fucking later.
Right.
Way later.
100
years is when it started getting written down.
So to be honest,
changed.
It's essentially like they got the kids of people who were in Saturday Night Live to do an oral history of Saturday Night Live through stories they just heard from their parents and shit.
Belushi's grandson.
And they didn't get, they couldn't even get, they got Jim Belushi's grandson. And
the Jim Belushi years.
Right. But that's the thing. You don't get all the, no one remembers it the same. Everyone remembers things differently and whatever. And then that's fine if we go, well, this is a gist of it. This is what people thought at the time or their interpretation of what went on at the time. But it's a living document that we probably interpret differently at this time. It's like, maybe the burning bush wasn't talking to him. Maybe he was having some sort of psychotic
He might have been having, he might have
that.
had a mental breakdown.
Right. Point still might apply.
I mean, if we saw a guy talking to a burning bush now, we'd be like, we should call the police or something. This
honestly,
is the situation.
Like if a guy in the street, if you were walking down Sunset Boulevard and there was a guy talking to a bush and then he turned around and said, this is how you should live your life. The bush told me.
Yeah, I'd probably be like, we're just going to eat at the Hamlet.
Right. I mean, technically as a country, you twice said, no, we want to listen to a bush.
Fuck.
So Not 3 times though. And we were like,
not 3 times. Oh, you know what? You can get us twice, but
fool me twice. But no,
not this time. When
Yeah.
there's something worse we can pick.
fuck. That's got to be also. By the way, Jeb, the whole time, like when your dad and your brother have been president, right? And you've always been kind of like seen almost in like you had a bit of a cred of like, nah, he's the smart one.
That's what they always said. They
Yeah.
always said he was the smart one.
Yeah, he's the one. He's the one we're going to get.
And he apparently in the family always felt like George jumped in front of him in line to be
Right.
president. Like they were both going to be president, but his brother jumped the line. Is what he has always felt. We didn't know that actually it was possible that there could be someone dumber than George Bush.
Right.
And just how did he? You look at these guys and you're like, how did you ever get elected governor? You're a fucking idiot.
Right.
You're a fucking moron. But he is. He's somehow worse than his brother. But he was never going to get elected because of the collective damage. Even the Republicans have turned against George Bush, and they're like, no, you don't. You don't get to talk about anything. That's it. Cheney, that's it. We're good with you. Zip it. So here's what I would say. I noticed how I have this image in my head that most Christians are nice people.
Yes.
And then there's a few that are fucking assholes.
Yes.
Which I still believe.
Right.
But there are also a few people who are pushing guns in our country. It's not a large amount of people. It's a very small minority of people pushing that. And they're the same fucking people. And I can't sit on the sidelines anymore as someone who does what I do. Does that make sense? My comedy is very personal. Uh-huh. I can't do that anymore. I'm smart and I have a lot of fucking ideas of what things are and what they're not. And I can put shit together that a lot of people can't. And I have to start putting it together.
Are you about to announce that you're running for president?
I'm running for the president of the United States of America.
Anthony v. West. That'll be a great election. Kanye up against Dave. Who, I mean, I got to be honest with you. I'd like to see that. I'd like to see Anthony v. Kanye in the presidential election.
It would be such a good election. Wouldn't it?
2020.
2020. Anthony v. Kanye. But I just have to start fucking putting my shit out. I have a fucking podcast that people listen to, and I can put things together and give people knowledge. And my stand-up, I just can't sit there and talk about personal stuff anymore. I have to open it up and do this kind of stuff.
Okay, that's interesting to me.
Because it's too important for people not to.
What do you think the
their
important
mind.
bit is? Like what I mean, because I wrestle with this all the time, and I think about this all the time. I'm about to write a new show, and it's always like, well, what is it that I want to say, or what is it that I need to say? I just did this show about Australian politics in Australia, and like weirdly enough, Amy, who does not like politics and does not like news and politics.
Yeah.
And so I was almost going to say to her, don't come to the show, because she doesn't even read the newspaper.
Yeah.
Like she says to me all the time, and I think it's such a brilliant thing. She goes, I said, but you know, what if there's like something big that happens in the world? And she goes, well, if something big happens in the world, you hear about it. And she was like, I was like, but what if it was something medium sized that would be important to you, but wouldn't necessarily be something that everybody knew about? And she goes, well, you'd tell me. And I was like, touche. I mean, that is a good point. So I can't.
There's a lot of people that live their life like that.
Okay, but she came and saw my political show, and she said to me afterwards, and I'm going to do some more of it next year based on this.
Yeah.
In fact, I rang my manager who had wanted me to do more of this political show, but I was putting it away because I had my new show to write. Mm-hmm. But my manager and my producer both loved the show as well. But I was done with it. I was like, okay, well, I'm done now. I've done the show. That's it. And then Amy came and saw it, and it was the day of the Paris shooting. So we that morning I had 2 shows to do that day. It was the last day of the tour, and it's a show that is, like a lot of it is about, you know, these very asylum seekers and terrorism and, you know, all these sort of things. And so we'd sat there that morning for 3 hours and watched, you know, we got up that morning and we'd had a personal connection. Not that I want to in any way make this about me, because it's not about me, but just explaining what we had. So Amy is friends with the band the Eagles of Death Metal.
Oh, Jesus, really?
Like friendly, like, you know, and to the point where she's still like one of the guys in the band, you know, her and her correspond quite a lot.
Wow.
But she's hung out with them before, you know. Secondly, again, not to make it about us in any way, but just to put in perspective where we were that day. we love Paris. One of our best holidays we ever had was in Paris. We had a great time there, and we loved that band. And in some ways, even more than 9/11 for us, like both things that we saw from a distance, but that you still are affected by. We were like, if we were in Paris, we would have been at that show that night. Do you know what I mean? As in, like, because that's exactly.
I thought the same thing.
We would have been there.
God, I might have gone to that show.
I mean, Amy knows the band. We would have been there.
You guys definitely would have been there. Yeah.
The Australian girl who was shot, who survived, but who was shot. Again, it seems weird to even talk about it in your own personal perspective, but this is what I'm trying to say. The first thing they, like when the Australian girl was shot, of course, what the media do these days in Australia is they go to their Facebook. I know in America they go firstly to their voter registration forms. But
what's the gender?
Yeah, it turns out she was a man originally. She was an 80-year-old man, but now she was a 19-year-old girl. But the header photo on her Facebook page was a photo of me and Sam Simmons together in bed from like a thing that we did. And like, so she's obviously, I guess, like a fan of Sam's and mine as well.
Oh, that I saw you. Yeah, I saw you. Yeah.
So that was the Australian girl who got shot. And so suddenly you just have this kind of thing of going, yeah, right. This is like, it just feels at least in your world. And both Amy and I just sat there for 3 hours watching the news unfold that morning because it was like in Australia on a Saturday morning. So basically when we got up, it was still in process. And then over those next few hours,
Boy, it went on for a long time.
Right. So we watched that all pretty much live. And then I was like, I've got to do a show. I've got to do 2 shows today. I don't know how I'm going to do that. So we went out of the house and we walked the dogs and went for lunch and just tried to shake it off a bit. But you couldn't shake it off on that day because everywhere you went, I didn't even know if people would come to the show. Like I was like, I can imagine, like I didn't necessarily even want to do the show that day. Like I was like, I'm not sure how, like even this show, at least in this show, I feel like I'm talking about something important, but I don't think I'm talking about anything important enough.
Right.
Like in the way that I should be talking about on a day like this. So anyway, she came to the show and she loved it, which was amazing to me. But she said to me, she said it was her favorite show that she'd seen of mine, which, that I respect her opinion on that. And so I'm going to do it again. But it also made me think a lot about like, well, I've got this new show to write. Maybe I should be writing something, that is a bit more in that area. Not about Australia, but about like you said, like, I mean, you have an audience and you have but what is it that you think that you want to say? Because this is where it becomes problematic for me. Is I get to this point where I'm like, yes, it's important that I use this opportunity that I have to say something important. But then the bit the stumbling block is going, well, what the fuck do I know? Like, what the fuck can I say, or what the fuck can I say that is valuable to this debate or this conversation?
Well, I haven't seen anybody talk about it from a personal experience. A comedian. Okay, so I had that experience. I talked about this on Walking the Room. I might have talked about it on here when I was in Seattle with my wife and kid, and we were in a restaurant, a fairly nice restaurant, and a guy came in who looked a little off, and he had his hand in his pocket, and everyone thought he had a gun, and it went on for quite some time. To me, everyone's talking about guns from this big, broad thing, but it needs to be humanized.
Right.
And the fact that I can go out to dinner and be scared is wrong. Because we've made a choice that I should be scared. We've collectively made a choice that I should be terrified.
I mean,
that's our decision.
It's one of those things. And again, like I find it very hard as an outsider when you come to America because I'm very conscious of the fact that this is not my country, although it is a country that I am choosing to spend part of my life in and hope that, I can be part of. Like I would like to see, I jumped on America. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
right. You got it. Bad timing.
Like you at least were fucking born here. You had no choice.
I had no choice.
But whereas I'm like, oh no, this is still got
This looks like a good place to go right now.
Right. Like, I mean, I wasn't even a guy who bought in at the top of the market going, this will be good forever. Like, we already knew that things were going wrong when I jumped on board,
For sure.
But that idea of even like, and I did think about it as I saw that shooting. I'm like, what if I had a family? Like, and I think about this all the time. It's like, I just wouldn't raise my children here. I just couldn't. As a parent, like, I mean, I'm not saying that I'm not, but you know what I mean? Like, as someone who has a choice between the two countries, I just could not in my mind think that I would raise kids in America when I could raise them in Australia.
Right. So no one's talking about what happens, but everyone's talking about, guns and okay, let's take this example. So a couple months ago, we have a very good friend, and my son Finn has become very good friends with their daughter, and they love each other and they hang out all the time.
Romance? Is it romance?
It could be something.
Do you think it is? Like, is there like how old is he? 5?
He's
6.
He's 6.
Okay,
and she's 6, and
at
they're just
6,
like,
is it? Because I remember when I was 6, there was definitely like a girl that was more my friend. Of course, she was just my friend, but at the same time, everyone kind of teased that she was my girlfriend because we hung out all the time.
Yeah, we don't
and
do
then
that.
in your head, it's kind of like, I don't know, maybe
there's times where I'm like, man, they're 16 and they're gonna do something. This is totally a thing. I don't know what's gonna, but they have a connection. They have a huge connection.
Yeah, great.
So that girl goes to a different school than Finn. She's a little bit of a richer community, and she had 2 good friends at her school.
Yep.
And one of those was a boy. And one night, his father came home and shot his mom, and then drove to a warehouse and killed himself. Now, when you hear that story, that's a classic American story. That's just a fun, good American tale of life in the suburbs. Now, when you hear that story, you think about the kid, right?
Right.
Would you think about my kid? Because I had to sit down and explain to my kid, so far fucking removed from the ripple, right?
Right.
How far removed am I? My son is not friends with that kid, but my son is friends with a kid who's friends with that kid. So I had to sit down my son and say, hey, this is what happened. Because he was going to hear about it from her, right? No matter what. He's 6. She's going to say their daddy's dead and their mommy. And we're very much about being honest. It'll probably come up. Kids aren't like, I'm going to keep this secret.
After some Dora Explorer small chat.
Yes. Dora's really funny. Yeah. Also, this guy shot his wife. So I just tell him, like, there's something wrong with this guy's brain, and he killed his wife, and we went through the whole thing, and he had a lot of questions and blah, blah, blah. But people don't think about the ripple effect. So if some guy goes into school and shoots 17 people,
right,
the fucking enormity of how many people are affected is insane.
I think about this all the time in relation to the fact that a lot of schools now have metal detectors, and they do drills on what happens if there's a school shooter.
It's worse. In LA, at recess and at lunch, the school's classrooms cannot commingle. So if you're in the 4th grade and you're in Mrs. Carrick's class, you cannot play with the 4th graders from Miss Johnson's class. Why? Because of an emergency situation, they have to be able to account for all the kids. Why would they do that? There's no other reason. Earthquakes don't matter like that. Nothing matters. But if someone walks in the playground and starts shooting, that's why you would do that. So we literally are constructing our schools around the idea of shootings as if that's normal and okay. And it's fucking insane.
I don't want you to have to go through a metal detector to go to
school.
No,
why would you?
I don't want you as a child to have to practice a drill because there is a possibility that a shooter will come into the school, and like, I think that's
barbaric.
The cost that it has for the rest of the society.
Yes.
And this is what we're talking about.
The mental cost.
That we're all in this together. I'm very big in the moment on the idea of public spaces versus private spaces, and I think that we have the balance completely wrong. We seem to apply this general fucking standard to everyone thinks that public and private spaces should have almost the same fucking rules, and it's ridiculous. Here's what here's what I would suggest the rules should be: that we have to work harder on the way that we all behave in public spaces and relax a little about whatever people do in their own fucking private spaces.
Totally.
You know what? If you want to smoke in your house, smoke you fucking all day long.
Yeah.
If you want to smoke next to a primary school, you can't. Like, it's a very simple way to look at the world, right? Yeah. Don't behave. If you want to stop in your house and read your fucking phone and walk around the house, do it. Don't do it in a crowded street and get in the way of other people. Once you're in a public space, we have to have rules that we're all sharing these public spaces and that we all have to kind of commingle together. Yeah. And when you're in your own private space, we should relax a little about, what people do and, that doesn't hurt anybody else.
Right.
But we seem to have this like fucking one approach for all those things where like you said, the ripple on effect, that carry on effect of it's
crazy. In our society, it's the things that you don't even, because people, I'm sure.
I have no problem with you having your gun or your fucking semi-automatic or whatever you want if there was no negative consequences.
But there's tons of negative consequences.
Heaps. Like heaps.
It's insane how many negative consequences there are.
Mate, I love Pringles, but if you told me tomorrow, if I stopped eating Pringles, no kids would get shot at school, guess what?
today's story came out, or today the biggest police union in the country said that they wanted police. So the NFL has a ban on guns in stadiums, except for, of course, uniformed officers.
Yeah, fair enough.
That includes cops who are just going to the game as fans. And today the cops came out and said, look, we need to be able to have all of our cops with guns, whether they're on duty or not at the stadium, because in case there's a shooter. And of course, my response is, we've never had a shooter in a stadium.
Right. Yeah.
But also, I can't think of anything less that I want than drunk cops with guns. Anybody drunk with guns.
Right.
How about no beer and guns? You can't. I don't care how fucking trained you are. You don't get to have a gun and be sitting there pounding beers all fucking day.
Right.
Because you're going to shoot somebody because you're drunk.
Right. Or you maybe you won't shoot someone, but some other drunk idiot next to you sees your fucking gun, and because you're drunk and your reflexes aren't how they normally were, they grab your fucking gun and they shoot somebody.
Or what if a terrorist actually wants to get a gun into a stadium? How hard is it for him to say, I'm from shitfuck Ohio, and here's my badge, I'm a cop there, and walk into the stadium with a gun? Like,
Also,
use your fucking heads.
Here's what you want if there's a terrorist event at a crowded stadium.
More guys in civilian clothes
holding up with guns,
yelling,
shouting randomly. No,
it's just our country. It's this crazy brainwash thing, and it's completely manufactured by the gun manufacturers. They've created this over the past like 25, 30 years. It's not part of our Constitution. It is wholly manufactured by the gun companies to sell guns, and the way that people have embraced it is so fucking crazy. They don't put a thought into it. It's just this knee jerk. I get down my guns, and it's like, well, are you part of a society or are you not?
right. That's what it comes down to at the end of the day. And this is my public versus private spaces thing, which is like when you're in public, you're part of a society.
Yeah.
Because the roads you drive on to work and the hospital that you're going to go to and the school that you send your kids to or whatever, like whatever it is, the taxation system, whatever we do, we are generally part of a society because we've realized as a species that it is better for us to work together to move forward than it is to go out on our own one by one.
Yeah.
I mean, that's essentially it, right?
Yeah.
That it's all eventually about us progressing forward, in whatever way.
But we are ever since, look, Margaret Thatcher and Ronald Reagan put forth the idea that we are not a society, and we've been running with it ever since as fast as we can.
I bet there's a couple of people listening to this right now who are like, fuck, I liked it better when they didn't talk about this shit.
But I think
podcast has never been as good since Dave thought he could say something. We should put that one up we did about climate change that made us both cry.
Oh my God, right?
I eventually erased that. It's sat on my computer.
Good.
It is sat on my computer for a couple of years where I was like, maybe one day I'll just put some of it up.
You know what that would have been?
But no.
That would have been the one after you die in the car wreck and someone releases that as the unreleased FOFOP.
Oh, yeah, my mum, like Tupac's mum, just keeps finding old shit that I recorded in my phone and releasing it every 4 years. Hang on, is this Wil Anderson ranting over Bruno Mars?
Jesus, this...
Why is he so obsessed with ethics in games journalism? All right, we should finish up. Dave, so I'm going to put this one up later in the week. So what do you got that you can tell us about?
Hold on, let me look it up.
Okay, well, I'll do my plugs while you look it up.
Later in the week, yeah.
So my shows, my Fire at Will show, which may be about public and private spaces and maybe about the universe or maybe about something else that I think about. I don't know. It's day one of thinking about that. It's a blank slate at this stage, but it is on sale in Adelaide. Adelaide Fringe Festival. Canberra's already sold out. Adelaide Fringe Festival, there are tickets on sale. Brisbane Comedy Festival, only doing a week there. It always sells out. So if you want to come in Brisbane, get in quick for that one, I would recommend. Melbourne Comedy Festival, I'm doing fewer shows this year and it is selling faster than ever, which is brilliant. Thank you so much for supporting it. But if you want to get in for one of the cheaper nights, Wednesday and Thursday are the cheaper nights this run. So if you're a fan of a cheaper night, I would recommend you get in for those tickets because they are going very quickly. My Illuminati show is available. No, it's not anymore because by the time you hear this, it will be off ABC iView for free. So if you did not see it, you can still buy the DVD if you saw it for free on the ABC. There is 15 minutes more on the DVD plus an entirely different show.
Get the DVD.
Go and buy that. Well, I'll spread the word. I just really want to sell enough that I can make another one next year. That's pretty much my base aim with that. I have another podcast. It's called Philosophy. FOFOP will be back, as people may know, because Charlie posted on the Facebook page. But if you have not heard, his mum, who was on FOFOP, his mum Eileen, died. She'd been sick for a long while, and so we've just had a little break. We actually have an episode recorded, and we were going to put up the Patreon and a few other things, but because Charlie has been obviously seeing his mum a lot recently, and of all that stuff, we just thought it was best. I'm just going to leave all that until he's back and ready and has a cool headspace for all that, and then we'll just put up those episodes and tell everybody about that. But I'm in Denver, people. I am in Denver next week at Comedy Works for a week, so come and see me hanging out in Denver. That'd be cool.
We should go on the road together. I
would love to do that. That'd be brilliant if anyone will actually have us.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't think about that part.
Yeah, I don't. But yeah, come and see me in Denver and tell them that you'd like Dave Anthony to come out.
Yeah,
next time.
So let's go up later. Okay, so Monday the 7th, I'm at Fringe in Los Feliz.
Oh yeah, that's fun.
Tuesday the 8th, I'm at Blam 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 in Koreatown.
I don't know that gig.
The R Bar.
Blam,
it's
Blam,
interesting.
Blam.
It's kind of fun.
Yeah.
Then the 12th, Vancouver, we are doing a live Dollop.
What day of the week is that?
That is a Saturday night.
Saturday night. Okay, nice one. Vancouver. Have you done shows in Vancouver before?
I did the festival once. That's it. Okay. A long time ago.
I imagine, and I hope that there'll certainly be people listening to this who know people in Vancouver. Yeah. Vancouver's a massive Australian city.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, because of the ski fields. So, when I did shows in Vancouver, they sold out. There was I did that festival, and I had the show on the opening night, and it was there was 300 seat room, and I was kind of like, is there going to be anybody at this? And they were like, oh yeah, it's sold out. And I'm like, really? And then it was just fucking 280
hilarious. Of course.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
See that. That'll be brilliant.
14th, I'm at Hot Tub here in Los Angeles.
Oh, yeah, nice.
And then, so the big announcement today was, so SF Podfest, January 24th, we are doing a live Walking the Room.
Okay, cool.
So you can go to the SF Sketchfest website and get those tickets. And it was just announced today, on the 31st, we are doing a live Dollop at LA Riot Comedy Festival, and Patton Oswalt will be our guest. And those tickets just went on sale.
On the 31st?
31st of January.
My birthday.
Oh, really?
Yep.
You should come down. Are you going to be here? Where are you going to be?
Oh, right. That's how I want to spend my birthday. Are you going back to... Watching you and fucking Patton.
Let me give you a cupcake or whatever happens.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, then I'm in.
What else was I going to say? And then I am currently, I just started talking with Gareth about coming back to Australia in July or August.
Oh, that'd be brilliant.
To do a run.
Hong Kong. I should mention Hong Kong.
Oh, yeah. You're going to Hong Kong.
Yeah. The 5th and 6th of January, I believe. I will be in Hong Kong. So
have you ever done that before?
No, never been to Hong Kong.
Pretty cool.
So, yeah, it'd be fun.
And then what else did I want to say? Oh, and then New York and Chicago, we are also going to set that up.
Okay,
for
brilliant.
Dollop.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Dave. It was nice to have you back.
It was nice to be
I
back.
think we solved some of the world's problems.
Right, didn't we? Look, the gun thing is over. We wrapped it up.
Right. Do you want to do a sign-off? I forgot. It's been so long that I totally forgot that you used to do sign-offs.
Well, now I'm...
I mean, now that you're more political, it probably should.
Yeah, I'm trying to think.
It should come with a message.
Yeah,
I guess.
Yeah. Hey, it's going to be different now. FOFOP.
The following episode of FOFOP is classified MA. It contains some coarse language, some nudity, drug references, a sex scene, time travel, terrible Batman impersonations, a Charlie Clausen, pronounced Clausen-shaped hole, and mild coarse language. FOFOP advises that the program is not suitable for persons under the age of 15, and minors must be accompanied by an adult guardian or priest. This is John Deek speaking. Speaking. Digging. 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 Digging.